You have a job. You pay your bills on time. You're not reckless. You don't blow money on obvious things. By every visible measure, you're responsible. And yet, at the end of each month, the number in your account looks almost identical to what it was 12 months ago. No crisis, no disaster, just no real movement. That feeling, that quiet, confusing frustration of doing the right things and going nowhere, is more common than anyone talks about. And it's not a discipline problem, it's a design problem. There's a version of financial failure that's easy to spot. Reckless spending, no savings, debt piling up from careless decisions. People recognize that pattern. They fix it. They course correct. But there's another version of financial failure that's almost impossible to see, because it doesn't look like failure at all. It looks like a reasonable life. This is the version that traps smart, responsible, hard-working people for years, sometimes decades. The trap isn't built from bad habits. It's built from incomplete ones. Think about what doing everything right usually means in practice. You have a budget, or something close to one. You contribute to a retirement account, at least enough to get the employer match. You don't carry credit card debt month to month. You have a small emergency fund. You shop sales. You cook at home more than you eat out. You're not living beyond your means, at least not obviously. That list sounds like financial health, and compared to the alternative, it is. But responsible behavior and wealth-building behavior are not the same thing. Responsibility keeps you from sinking. Wealth building actually moves you forward. Most people master the first one and assume that's enough. It isn't. Here's where the gap lives. When income increases, whether through a raise, a side project, or a bonus, the default move for most responsible people is to absorb the increase into their lifestyle gradually. Not dramatically. No yacht, no designer wardrobe, just a slightly nicer apartment, a newer car with a slightly higher payment, eating out a bit more because you've earned it. Subscriptions that didn't exist 2 years ago, incremental upgrades that, individually, seem completely reasonable. The financial term for this is lifestyle inflation. But that phrase doesn't capture how slow and invisible it is. It's not inflation. It's more like a slow tide. You don't notice it rising until you look down and realize the floor has disappeared. Every time income goes up and spending quietly matches it, the gap, the distance between what comes in and what stays, remains exactly the same. And that gap is the only thing that builds wealth. Without it, it doesn't matter how much you earn. The machine produces nothing. It just runs. This is why people with high salaries can feel just as stuck as people with average ones. It's not about the number at the top. It's about what's left over after the lifestyle has taken its share. But there's something deeper than spending patterns at work here. Most financially responsible people operate on an unexamined assumption that if they avoid the big mistakes, wealth will eventually accumulate on its own. Pay the bills, save a little, don't do anything stupid, and time will handle the rest. This is partially true, but it's dangerously incomplete. Time, on its own, doesn't build wealth. Capital working over time does. And capital doesn't grow from simply not losing money. It grows from consistently, intentionally, and somewhat aggressively directing surplus toward things that compound. That requires a level of financial offense that most responsible people never fully develop. Because responsibility, by nature, is defensive. It protects. It doesn't push. The person who is stuck isn't usually making dramatic mistakes. They're making the mistake of treating financial defense as a complete strategy when it's only half of one. There's also a social dimension to this that rarely gets discussed honestly. Most people build their financial lives around a set of social expectations they've never consciously questioned. The expectation that a certain income level corresponds to a certain type of home. that career advancement should come with visible lifestyle upgrades. That appearing stable is roughly the same as being stable. These expectations aren't personal choices, they're inherited from the environment. And they quietly dictate spending in ways that feel like preference, but are actually pressure. When someone earns more and doesn't upgrade their lifestyle, it can feel wrong, out of place, like they're not doing what they're supposed to do. That discomfort is real, and most people relieve it by spending. Not because they want to, because the alternative feels uncomfortable in a way that's hard to explain. Quiet financial progress is genuinely difficult to sustain when everything around you is designed to convert income into consumption. So what does the exit from this look like? It starts with a recalibration, not of spending exactly, but of the goal. Most people who feel stuck are optimizing for the feeling of being okay. Low stress, no debt crises, things running smoothly. That's a comfort target, not a wealth target. And there's nothing wrong with wanting comfort. But when comfort becomes the ceiling instead of the floor, forward motion stops. The shift happens when someone decides, clearly and deliberately, that surplus is not extra. It's the point. Every financial decision gets reframed around protecting and growing the gap between income and spending. Not because they're depriving themselves, but because they've decided that future flexibility is worth more than present signaling. That means the raise goes somewhere specific before the lifestyle can absorb it. It means the bonus has a destination before it arrives. It means subscriptions get audited regularly instead of ignored. Not because every dollar matters in isolation, but because the habit of directing money intentionally matters enormously over time. None of this is complicated in theory. Most people already know the basic mechanics. The problem was never knowledge. The problem is that everything in our environment rewards looking financially successful over being financially free. And quietly building margin doesn't reward you with anything visible. No validation, no upgrade, no social signal that you're doing well. The reward is slow, private, and delayed, which is exactly why most people never fully commit to it. Doing everything right means something. It means you've avoided the worst outcomes. But avoiding the worst is not the same as building towards something better. The people who eventually break through this kind of quiet stagnation are the ones who stop waiting for their responsible habits to automatically compound into wealth and start treating financial offense with the same seriousness they already give to defense. The shift is small. The difference, over time, is not.